The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome everyone to day 2 of our 4-day event, Make Fax Great Again, where we are showcasing best-of-breed advanced alternatives to your legacy fax server. We are very excited to have our strategic partner Retaris with us today, where we will be introducing the Retaris Enterprise Cloud Faxing Solution. Our speakers today are Christian Graninger, Senior Sales Engineer from Retaris, and Juan Cueva, Director of Technical Services from Instant Infosystems. Really quick, just a little bit of housekeeping before we get going. You should see on the right side of your screen the GoToWebinar control panel. This is where you can ask questions at any time during the presentation. And at the end of the presentation, we will answer just as many questions as time allows. But rest assured, if we don't have an opportunity to get through all of these questions, we will certainly reach out to you individually and make sure you get the information that you need. So just a real quick overview of Instant Infosystems and Retaris. Instant Infosystems and Retaris, we are a strategic lighthouse partner for Retaris. And what that means is that we have a very close working relationship between our two companies, where we rely on each organization's unique expertise and thought leadership. So the benefit to our customers is that when you choose a Retaris solution from IIS, you have the benefit of working with the leading manufacturer of enterprise-grade fax solutions, cloud fax solutions, backed by the technical expertise and consultative guidance and outstanding services and support of Instant Infosystems. So we really can meet all of your needs from start to finish, from implementation all the way through support. So with that, I don't want to take up any more valuable time. I want to turn the presentation over to our guest speaker today, Christian Graninger. Christian, take it away.
Thank you, Julie, and welcome everybody. I'm very happy that I can speak today to you about our technical solution, how our hosted fax service works, and we're going to have a deep dive into the technical parts of that. So on today's agenda, we're going to look into the technical architecture and the differentiators. We look into our products as a deep dive, and we're going to talk about how Retaris and ISS is how we can migrate you from an on-premise solution to the fax services of Retaris. So at Retaris, we have 3 main points what we look at for our customers. So what makes us so unique? We look at the performance and data protection and security, and to have a streamlined support operations and implementations. What I mean with performance is, for example, we make sure that you never hit the bottleneck. So we have active capacity management for your busiest days in the communications. So sometimes there is peaks in the beginning or in the end of the month or in the end of the quarter. So you need to rely on our services that it's fully scalable, that the faxes are delivered smoothly, and therefore we have our information logistics in place. So we enable you to securely and efficiently let your information flow, the faxes in and out. Therefore we can offer customization if it comes to cover page and things like that. We have really simple integration methods where we use our standard APIs to hook up any kind of applications. We ensure that you meet all your compliance requirements. So we follow different principles, ITIL and so on. We have different certifications I'm going to talk later a little bit about. We make it really seamless for you to have your business processes in the cloud and have a really secure and transparent communication tool in your hands. How we do that? Our information logistics, we provide regional processing. So we're not a typical cloud service provider. Since we do this since '92 already, we have been there in this field before there was even the term cloud used in the industry. So we will do local processing. We have our data centers available for our customers in the US, in Chicago and Ashburn, but for global companies, for them it's important that we can also comply with different other regulations, for example, specific regulations in Switzerland for the banking business there, or for your European hubs you might have. We have data centers in Frankfurt and Munich, and for our partners and customers over in the Asian region, we have data centers in Singapore and Australia. So you really can choose where your data is being processed and handled. Therefore, we have this global mesh of our delivery network there. But let's talk a little bit about our products itself and how we can integrate with your current solutions. At Retarus, we always analyze together with our partners what's there in the customer side. What communication needs do you have? Is it desktops? Is it devices? Is it applications? So we have therefore then different protocols how we can interface with your applications to ensure the communication is safely handled, it's there in time, and that you can use the native integrations we offer. So these protocols might be SMTP for mail to fax, fax to mail for desktop usage, but it might be also for application usage like IBM AS400s, or you might have SAP system there where we can connect to through the RFC or PCSMTP standard. We have different other applications available for one-to-many communication. We have printer drivers available. And depending on your needs, we choose the right product to be used on your site. There's usually no software needed. There's no hardware needed. It's really just out of the box from the cloud how we can integrate with your existing system. We can do Active Directory synchronization. We can work with any kind of email provider, but we're going to talk about that in a later slide a little bit. Very important is just the multi-carrier strategy. As you can see here in this slide, Retarus, we use a global network of around 25 carriers to ensure that we can deliver your messages into any region of the world. So you might have domestic traffic, you might have international fax traffic. We ensure that the last mile is handled securely, and we have high deliverability rates to ensure that there is no break in your business processes. On the next slide, I talk a little bit about the security and what we have around our products. We have different security layers. Security is usually, for many of our customers in the different verticals we are working in, a high concern. So therefore, we ensure with these different layers, the physical and network transport and content security, to comply with your internal policies, but not just that, also with different policies in the industries. So that might be that we are HIPAA compliant, that we use TLS as enforced TLS as a transport security, for example. For PCI DSS, we are certified, we follow ESIA 34.2, and so on. So all these different layers, they are monitored internally from Retarus, but also we have external auditors coming in like KPMG. We have customers coming in visiting our data centers to ensure that we meet their needs. And we're very proud to say that so far any security audit we went through with our customers, we hit all their boxes and could comply with any security requirement there. So what is so unique about our managed fax services? On the next slide, it's a very busy slide, but it really shows you all the options Retarus can offer. So we can integrate with basically any application out there as long as we speak the same language. So it could be that you are planning to introduce Skype for Business, for example. So you move into IP telephony. Then you want to, of course, ensure that your fax services are still up and running and working properly. So that's where we usually come in as an addition to these products. So it could be our Office 365 plugin, an add-on which adds a little button on the top of the user's desktop where he can just hit it and say new fax and choose the fax number from his address book or enters a new one, It gets delivered to us through SMTP. We do the faxing and you get the report back as the user. There could be also other scenarios where we integrate with Microsoft Dynamics or any other application out there. It could be a health service system, it could be an ERP system, it could be systems for taking in orders or sending out orders out of systems. So we do a lot of different things in our data centers in addition to fax. So of course the standard is get the document from A to B, but we can do also OCR on it. We can do intelligent routing on it. We can archive the faxes for you, and we also have products, project-based fax to EDI, where we take unstructured data on a fax, might be an order, and then structure it and deliver it through EDI into your system so that there is no manual order entry needed anymore. And all this communication here between your communication partners and yourself is handled through us, and you can monitor that through, with our EAS portal. That's our service portal for your administration staff of the fax services. They can go in, add new users in there, can do live monitoring in there, gather reports, for example, and so on. This is a very powerful tool we offer, that you are in the full control of the services you use from us, but also you get the assistance from us through our specialized services department, through our support department, where they are able to help and configure these services with you. And as a broadcast solution, for one-to-many communication, we use our WebExpress services, where you can send investor relations out there, PR information, or just communications with your customers, and so on. So how does it look like if you would come on board with Retavus? Our onboarding services, they're basically together with Instant Info Systems handled with you. So we look at your requirements, and of course the team at ISS, they know you very well. So this consulting phase here is basically we gather all the information we need to know about how you use faxing today, what you would like to improve, if there's then in the service onboarding any customization required. It could be cover pages, it could be any kind of reporting you might require. Then we go through the phase, and it usually takes not a lot of time, and I will show you that on a later slide. And then we run into the go live phase and go into the operations. And this time frame is usually very short. So if you look at the next slide, if we talk about the desktop onboarding, here are the simple steps we undergo. So we look at your use cases, how you do faxing today. We look, okay, which users need to be able to fax. We look at the security requirements. Then we already start with the integration. So we could secure the transport of this information from you to us through VPN or TLS. Also MPLS and other options are available. We do the user mapping. You might do some pilot testing for some power users just to try out the services. And then we go into the implementation phase, where we port existing fax numbers onto our infrastructure, and then we provide training and the documentation, and we are ready to go live. So this is a really short time needed for the desktop piece. It's usually 15 to 30 days timeline. The most of the heavy lifting is done through the team at Instant Info Systems and at Retavus. So for yourself, it's really not much effort you have to put in there to migrate to the cloud. The application piece usually takes a little bit longer time, just because applications could be a bit more complex. So if you look at the next slide here, we need to first gather information about common interfaces. What software product you're using? Are you using SAP? That might be actually a quicker timeline, because there is a IFC standard, communication standard in place, which is very easy to configure on your side and on our side. But there could be also any other applications. So we need to find a common interface, a common language we can talk to each other. Then it starts you could write some code towards to our API. We can provide you sample code in different coding languages, and then we start with the integration, the pilot testing, and again we walk through you with you and go in your pace as requested and needed in this project timeline there. I mentioned earlier on a bit about what we're very proud at Retarus is our Retarus operations and monitoring. So as a customer, you have the possibility to see exactly what we are doing, what service we are providing for you. Our support is very in close hands with Instant Info Systems, so we provide the level 2 and level 3 support, and Instant Info Systems knows you very well since many years, so they provide the tier 1 level support. And as you can see here in this screenshot, as an administrator, you have access to very detailed reporting. So we record every second what we do for you. So as you can see here, there's a normal fax transmission coming through. We confirm page 1, confirm page 2, create an email, send it to the user, and he gets the fax to email delivered. And once this is completed, we usually do deliver and delete. That means there's no fax image stored anymore. There's no data at rest other than the reporting data, as you can see here on the screen. And you have, of course, different means of reaching us. You could call us at 844 Retarus. There's a proper trained engineer on the phone. We don't have any call center, anything like that offshore. There's just really people that know about the service, they have implemented it, and they can give you an answer straight away on the phone. But of course also you can reach us through our ES portal with the ticketing system there and through email. So we have really a great streamlined support, and all of our customers really love that about us, that we are really quickly there to answer their calls. Let's have a little look at what customers Retarus is serving. So our name might be new to you, but you probably already have somehow used our service. So if you apply for a car loan, for example, there's a very high chance that this car loan application went through our services, went through our barcode reading machines, and was delivered to one of the major banks in the US who is dealing with these car loan applications. But you might have also ordered some food on your mobile phone from Seamless or Grubhub, for example, and that order is actually being faxed to a restaurant close to you, and they delivered the food to you. In case you had to go to a doctor and had a little examination done there, some blood tests, you probably also had contact with Retarus, and there was a fax then after that lab result came in, was a fax triggered to your doctor to tell him the results of that blood test you might have done. So even though you think you don't know Retarus very well right now, we probably you have triggered a fax already in our system without knowing that. I just want to summarize a little bit what we talked about right now on the next slide, which is really our main message, what I want to bring across, which is we can deliver really high-level, enterprise-ready, end-to-end communication for you to communicate with your customers and with your vendors and so on. We really take care about the security. We look into the deliverability rates of our customers to make sure that the business process, which is usually behind that fax transmission, is not being broken by taking too much time to get the message across, that you really have a real-time delivery in there, that you have a proper reporting on it, that you can really track and transparently see what's going on there. And with our network, we have a carrier-grade network, Sonos equipment in our data centers. We ensure that we get the messages safely transmitted, that we have a real-time failover in case there should go something wrong in a certain region. We do best routing, so that means we make sure that we choose the best carrier available in that region to deliver the faxes to get the message across. And I would like to hand over now to my colleague at Instant Infosystems, Juan, who can talk a little bit more how these integration and migration services work with Retyrus.
Thank you, Christian. Much appreciated here. So once again, my name is Juan Cueva, Director of Technical Services here at Instant Infosystems. The next slides that I'm going to be covering, if you were part of our webinar yesterday, you may see some of the similar slides. However, I'll be describing how these solutions are unique with the Retyrus and how there's specific details on the product and how it integrates. So our services here, once again, from pre-sales, professional services, and technical support. You'll see a lot of familiarity with what Christian talked about here, and with the ability to deliver not only from the beginning, when we're working on selecting a solution. When selecting a solution here, you are working with our sales team, for example. Take a look at all the requirements and what is to be considered. What is the best product and architecture designed for you? On the professional services side, we work with you on designing it, implementing it, and delivering it. And then from our technical support side, Instant Infosystems has been working with customers for quite a bit of time, and we can work with you on taking the calls on a very quick time frame. As you can see here, our hold times of under 2 minutes, and really getting to someone working with an engineer at the right time. Our expertise ranges from over 10 years of working with fax on an average per person that we have here. So on the next slide here. So the Instant Infosystems team, we have our technical support team who's been working with us for a long time, as well as our sales team who has a lot of expertise and knowledge around the different architectures and products, multiple industries, around healthcare, around financial, around all the different industries, and the way that a lot of the different applications integrate with the fax solution. As a Microsoft Gold certified partner, we concentrate on doing a lot of certifications around Windows, SQL, Exchange, all of the different integration points that are going to be integrating into the fax application. And the next slide. This methodology matches very closely to what Retyrus was just talking about. As we go through the discovery, taking a look at what are the important pieces for user directories and what the considerations there, data migration and integration, and we combine that into the transition services that we offer. So I'll go in a little further depth into each one of these. In the discovery section, we take a look at your environment. We really leverage the expertise in the multiple fax platforms, particularly as we've been talking about in this series with WriteFax. We have a large number of our engineers who have expertise, 10+ years on the WriteFax side. We take a look at how you're using your fax solution today. What are the important components? FaxUtil, for example, how are users using that, and how would that look when we take a look at a hosted type of application, and what are our tools available for that? What are the routing options? What are the email options? Group considerations, for example, how do we set it up, and how do we set up aging? As Christian mentioned, we have a very nice platform for the administrators, which gives the ability to monitor and to configure those for the multiple users. Our phone books being used, those are our considerations. DID setup and assignment of users. Retyrus has built a great portal that gives us the ability to manage the multiple users. They've done a great job in implementing this, where you can have a list of different users. And again, this is hosted on the Retyrus side, meaning the numbers are managed by Retyrus. So when you have to match those users, you can actually leverage that. So we take a look at all of that during the discovery. Dialing rules and destination tables really become not important in this case because the environment is being managed on the hosted solution. Next slide. User directories. These are a consideration. How do we move users from one application to, especially in this particular topic, to our hosted solution? So we have the ability to either export and import users. We also have the ability to do Active Directory. As Christian mentioned, we have the ability to integrate with security in mind. Their products really take security at the highest priority with compliance and security. So we do that through a secure file transfer of a specific file and basically synchronize the Active Directory synchronization. And we have customers who have done that already. Network directory routing to different files, for example, if we need to do that. Retaris has actually created a few unique ways of really bridging the cloud to on-premise. They have a few tools, for example, that allow us to have a tool on-premise that will take a look at jobs that are coming in and then be able to route them directly to printers locally on your on-premise environment. In addition to that, we're able to do that to a network directory, for example, or to an imaging application, as we talked about here with an ECM application, where the final destination of that document is supposed to go from a faxing perspective. Next. Data migration. So a few considerations here. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. What are the considerations with data migration? With data migration, does data really need to be moved over? From a compliance standpoint, you may have to keep the documents for a certain period of time, or as we talked about here with Christian, he mentioned that with most of Retaris' customers, when we see the hosted application, customers follow the process of deliver and delete. We may be routing the fax so it can be stored and archived in a different location, but that's one of the things that we would evaluate with you from a data migration standpoint and really determine whether we need to migrate the data or whether we need to basically just redirect it to a certain location so that it can be archived, or from a compliance standpoint, not keeping that data in a hosted solution and just deliver and delete after once it's deleted. Excuse me, after it's delivered. Next. Integration points. Integration points are actually one of the strong points here with Retaris. They actually have built quite a few standard APIs. As Christian mentioned, we have a few different transports in which we can integrate in a secure and reliable standpoint, taking a look at security as the highest priority. Whether it's via VPN connection, whether it's via TLS, HTTPS, a secure file transfer, for example, SSL, and then as another example, SAP has been a long-standing integration that Retaris has done, and they have a unique way of delivering that integration with SAP, and they work very closely with SAP to develop that integration. We have other things like MFPs and integrations. We have different ways of integrating that as well with the MFPs, either through a secure file transfer, as we're used to integrating. SMTP is another way of doing it, where you're able to just address the job from the MFP. And we have a few other ways of integrating that. Application specific, so like I mentioned, SAP, FileNet, Oracle. We have a few different other integrations that we're able to do. The rapid integration to the business applications, as Christian mentioned, is a really strong point for with Retaris, and us as Instant Info Systems, in partnership with Retaris, we'll work with you on a step-by-step process to get those integration points migrated over. And again, mentioning compliance and security, one of the main reasons we looked at Retaris in the first place, to be able to really deliver those integration points securely and transparent. Next slide here. So how can Instant Info Systems help you? So we can you can take a look at the product knowledge that Instant Info Systems has. We've partnered with the partners that really give us the ability to work with you with the customer in mind and with the interest of the customer in mind. We leverage our expertise in really taking a look at what your current integrations may look like. We've also looked at customers, for example, that may have disparate systems out there, and this may be a time to take a look at how we can basically merge everything into one application. In this case, for example, we have one particular application that we have in a hosted environment. Your telephony, a lot of times we get calls or our main calls that come into support are related to telephony-related issues. Retaris, in that case, you're basically moving that and basically putting it in one location so that you're leveraging this wide network without necessarily having to invest that in your infrastructure. The migration expertise, as we talked about here, we have the services and support so that we can work with you not only from an implementation standpoint and then we walk away, but really leveraging the support behind it. As Christian mentioned, the monitoring is a very unique set of tools that Retaris has and gives us the ability to provide to the customer so they can see exactly where the jobs are. So our goal is to make this transition as easy and seamless as possible for you. We're here to work with you on your particular needs. And at this particular time, I'm going to go ahead and pass this over back to Julie, and where we'll be taking some of the questions.
Juan, thank you so much, and Christian, thank you to you both for the great and in-depth overview. It was a lot of information we covered in a pretty short amount of time. And I know that we are at the 10:33 mark, but I do have quite a few questions that have come in, so I want to thank everybody for sticking with us. We'll get through as many questions as we can in the next few minutes. But again, thank you to Christian and Juan for that great overview. So I'm looking through our question list, and I see several people have asked about SAP. What versions of SAP are supported by Retaris? Christian, can you answer that for us?
Yeah, sure I can. Basically, every version of SAP is supported, so we have the native integration with the RFC, but also we have already a few customers using BCS-FTP as a transport method as well. So basically, yeah, all versions of NetWeaver and so on are supported with the solution.
Perfect, thank you. I have a question here. Does Retaris provide DID numbers, or does Retaris have a process to port existing DIDs into their cloud platform? I think, Christian, that's another one for you.
Yeah, we can do it either way. We can provide DID numbers in 194 countries of the world. So if you need, if there's a new location opening somewhere and you need a number somewhere, we can organize that for you. Or what we often use is porting the numbers over onto our network, so you retain the ownership of the number that's within the contracts, but we port it over to our infrastructure and manage it then from there.
Perfect. I'm seeing a few questions related to this coming in regarding moving from an on-premise solution to a cloud solution. One specific question is, what are the key things to think about when moving from an on-premise to a cloud solution? I think that might be something both Christian and Juan could address. Juan, do you want to take this one? I know we've done several of these migrations. Yeah. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the major considerations are really, what are your touch points? You know, the major consideration if you're using desktop faxing is really going to be what does my connectivity look like for the end users. And it's pretty seamless, and in the sense, if you take a look at, if you're doing emailing from or faxing from your email, you're basically addressing the job to a specific number at a particular domain. So fax number at the domain. And then the job goes out. Inbound works very seamlessly. It can actually just get delivered to the user's desktop via their email. If they're used to doing that, we also have a client that can be used, a printer driver as well. So we basically provide, while a lot of the transmission is going on in the back end, the end user experience will stay the same. And one other point here from an application standpoint, as we touched on, the integrations really are the endpoints that we need to set up between the customer and the cloud solution. And we have the multiple transports that we talked about to be able to do that.
Perfect. Thank you. Related to that, somebody has written in, we already have WriteFax and want to move to a hosted solution and are considering EasyLink fax to mail. What are some of the key differences with your solution? Christian, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I know the EasyLink solution very well. I mean, the first question I would ask is, what's on your product roadmap? What are you planning to do with fax in the future? What features you're going to offer in addition? And if you ask Retarus, we can tell you how our roadmap looks like. I don't know about the other providers out there, but basically, we constantly invest in and reinvest into our solutions. So right now on our roadmap, we already fulfilled a few customer requests where we can do customization. That might be automated fax reply to detect errors in a fax transmission and go back to the sender and tell him, hey, there was an issue, rather than having somebody of your staff members then calling in and try to get the full transmission if there was an issue on the sender side. Or also improving the fax transmissions by offering higher resolutions. I mean, fax protocol, any cloud provider, including us, right now, you can send in standard resolution and in high resolution. But for Retarus, that's not good enough, because we have customers, they are sending lab results, they're sending very particular fax transmissions, and they need to have a higher quality on that. And the fax protocol allows for that, and the systems, the servers, and the machines out there, they support it as well. So we at Retarus, right now we are rolling out higher resolutions. That means we have 200 to 400 dpi, which we call the super high resolution, so to be able to transport the faxes even in higher quality. So if you choose a cloud service provider, I think, yeah, the first question would be, how does your support model look like? Do you have offshore call centers, or do you really have engineers on the phone? And what's on the roadmap? And I think if you look at that in detail, your choice is going to be Retarus.
Great, thank you, Christian. Here's a more detailed question, a more specific question. We currently have dialing rules to allow users to use shortened phone numbers. Is that capability available? Back to you, Christian, I think.
Yes, we have the possibility to enter default country codes and default area codes, and therefore you don't need to enter the full fax number. Our system can complete the numbers and make a full dialing string out of that, so that's possible to configure that.
Perfect. Can you, Christian, can you elaborate? We've had some questions regarding the requirements to operate Retarus and how customizable is the product. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, it depends on what service you're going to use from us. If you talk about fax to mail and mail to fax, so the only requirement is that you're able to send an email, basically. So that's there's no specific software or hardware requirements on your side. And if it comes to applications, we would look into it, what kind of protocol can be used. If it's a SOAP or REST API you can code towards to, or if it's a native integration into Exchange, for example, then it's just a little configuration. So there's really nothing to stop you from using Retarus, because you already have a proper email infrastructure, so therefore you can use the services mail to fax and fax to mail really seamlessly. And if there's any application, we would just look into it, what kind of language, what protocol that application can talk. We sometimes see old systems like AS400 or IBM iSeries. They need to be able to fax, so we can use overlays which can be customized. We can have customized cover pages. We can customize the reporting in case that needs to be then again brought back into your system. So we're really flexible, and I think that's the value what we can bring to the table. Our customers laugh about that. We have a great engineering and implementation team, and we look at your solution and make sure that we can seamlessly integrate with your solution.
Perfect. Thank you. And speaking of implementation, we have one more question that we're going to try to sneak in before we wrap up, because I think this segues off really nicely. Somebody has asked, we want to make the move to a cloud solution but are concerned about the implementation period, and is there any downtime between Retaris being up and running and our on-premise server, that cutover period? We seem to get this question quite frequently from many of our customers. Juan, can you speak to that implementation process and some of the services
Sure.
we have in place to minimize or eliminate any downtime?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the most important piece is that we're able to set up the environment side by side so that we basically minimize the downtime. We have our team of engineers and that have been working at these migrations for quite some time now. And as you asked kind of earlier as well, Julie, in terms of what are the considerations here? Well, some of the considerations are just establishing those integration points and those users. We're able to test everything ahead of time, and then once we're ready, we're able to migrate the numbers. In this case, for example, if you're taking some of your existing numbers, that cutover would basically be the time where we port over the numbers at that time. But beforehand, we could have already provided some test numbers for inbound testing and outbound testing so that we can have and minimize the downtime. And then at the time of the cutover, then at that time, you would have already have a tested environment, and we'll start receiving the faxes in production on the Retaris side.
Perfect. Thank you. With that, I think we are going to wrap up. We're just about 45 minutes past the hour, and I see that you've all hung in there with us, so thank you so much for sticking with us today. Hopefully you have gained some valuable information and insight into making the transition from your legacy fax server to a Retaris hosted solution. I want to give a very special thanks to our presenters today, Christian Graninger and Juan Cueva. Really appreciate your time and all of your great information and expertise. And to everyone who joined us today, thank you so much. We will be reaching out to all of you if we weren't able to get to your question today. So you'll be hearing from us very shortly, and we will also have the recorded webinar available quite shortly as well. So again, thanks to everybody, and have a great day.